over there?
Yeah, it's centered underneath.
Today for my second vaccine, me and my wife. So,
Sei gesund. Sei gesund, and it shouldn't even bother you.
Oh, man.
You on?
Yeah.
I'm getting off Shabbos. And the house starts off with the union of Shemitah. Shemitah's coming up, I think 2 years from now.
Next year.
It's next year. No, it's here. Okay, so it's going to be it's going to affect us again, and the next year it's going to be affected. Okay. And we have got, and we know the collection's going to come around, all the different, what do you call it, the campaigns for the Shemitahs. So we have to understand what's going on, at least as far as we're concerned. So by Sheni, no, by Shlishi, it says that the second pasuk of Chisaymu Manecha Vasonish Hashona Hashviyis Henwenis V'Nesov is to say, what are we going to eat? We didn't plant, we didn't get out of it. So how are we going to eat? Where's our food? And that's really the problem why the farmers don't want to give up Shemitah, because where's my panosa? We're going to have no panosa this year. So it says, "V'tzivisi es bechosi." I'll give a bracha that you're going to have 3 years worth of tevuah, and what do you do? So Shivas Atzal used to ask, he says, what happens if you don't ask? It says, "V'chisaymu," if you will say. What happens if you won't say? The regular guy, no, I don't question. It has to do. She said you wouldn't have. There would be no bracha. But the nest would be that you'll have what you need when you need it. In other words, it'll last you for the 3 years. You won't have to have Grace Bracha, 3 different warehouses that I have to stuff up with the year's stuff. Why? Because is it so good to have bracha? I mean, when we talk about bracha, I love the bracha. You really love 3 times as much work as you needed in one shot? Would you like to work that hard? First of all, can you work that hard? And then where are you going to store it? So you're going to have to build storehouses, right? Silos, whatever you build, though, right? And then by the fact that it's not going to be used for 2 years, so what's going to do? So for 7 years, man, it's going to fall apart. Right, so you're going to be back to the old thing. You're going to have to rebuild every 7 years. They're going to have to build 2 warehouses, work triple the time, And what do you call it? And for what? So I can have food those years, not to worry. The Bein Shalom said, I'll take care of you, don't worry about it. Okay, so the kasha is, so what about today? How come we're making all these campaigns? So you can make truths and nothing, based on English's time, these things. It could be all these answers, it could be. But I think a simpler answer is that the Rebbeinu Shalom is talking about when we was an agricultural society. And in an agricultural society, everybody was in the same situation. And if there's no food, there's no one planting, no one growing, no one's going to eat. Zman hazeh, Israel has nothing to do. I mean, it has agriculture, it has a little bit, even exports, about insignificant amount, probably to the amount of money that the country needs. And so now it's a powerhouse as far as technology goes, as far as science goes, and that's where the money is. So Israel's making money from other means. The agriculture is there. You need it. If you don't get it from there, you import it. It's not a thing that we have big problems with. In that case, then the Bein Shalom says, you don't need an S, because Klal Yisrael is making a lot of money. And we got to give them an opportunity to participate in this mitzvah. Like, in other words, the other time everybody participates because he had a farm. But Bismana say, who participates? The poor farmer. He's the only one that participates. But the rest of us, we don't have any shaykhs to the mitzvah at all. So here, we help to support him. That's our shaykhs to the mitzvah. And as far as the panosa, we have the panosa to be able to do that. Now, if you'll ask me about certain farmers that are successful and they don't need it, so they don't need it. I'm not talking about it. I'm sure they don't take if they don't need it. And eventually can make that, certain farmers are going to make a panosa, a good panosa. A soigim, dealers, whatever they are. They're going to make a decent panosa regardless of the laws of Shemitah. With the guy sells bananas, you got a problem. But other things, there's no real problem on it. So, that's what I'm saying. So, those guys don't need. So, what you don't need, the Bein Shalom doesn't make any special brachas for you. It's not important. You'll see other nisim involved. When you keep it, you'll see certain things don't rot, don't spoil. Just to show you that the Bein Shalom is happy you're keeping Shemitah. That Shemitah is an important thing, and he's happy for you now. And that's really what it is. The Torah we're having, as I say, a bank account. There's nothing wrong with a bank account, but I'll explain what a bank account's all about. And that's probably a little bit what we have, the union of why I need 3 years worth of crop. In Emerson, we all believe, right? So what we should all do is, and Chof Tes, we should all take out all the money we have, make a tremendous party, that the thing there, because next year's Zera is going to start again. So there's no reason for us to save from this year. Right? What's the point? Now, Gadi, you'll see sometimes a lotion that's not Mizaynei. It says that the Panosa is Rosh Hashanah and so on. The Gemara's lotion is Mizaynei of Shalodim. His food. His food means his hoitzoyos, how much he has to spend. And that's the Gzeira of every year. How much money will you spend on a thing there? So therefore, if a person, let's say, earns a certain amount of money, he puts it away in the bank, that money he didn't earn, it doesn't go in the cheshbon. He didn't enjoy it, didn't have a hanoi from it, just in the bank. The only hanoi he has out of it is if he doesn't trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so he feels more supreme. Oh, I got money in the bank. I remember in 2008, I'm sure the ones here that remember that, was when the semi-depression, whatever you want to call it at that time, that big whop that we had. So Lehman Brothers went under. A lot of them financial companies went under. And all the people that were Gevirim, these were companies that it was impossible, like, how are they going to last? There's no question about it. And that not only did they go broke, but all the money that they had in the retirement accounts and all these things, all the big executives lost millions and millions of dollars. In other words, with what I thought I was rich, I was poor. The same thing like the banks in the time of the Depression. If you didn't get there in time to withdraw your money, the bank went broke, you're out of money. You lost it. It's gone. There's nothing more to talk about. That's the point. So what are you bragging about that I got in the bank? I mean, I'm saying that, if I need to spend it, hopefully the Benjamin is going to give me, and that's what the Benjamin gave it to you for. Everybody in life has a certain time in his life that he's going to have bigger expenditures than normal. And where everybody has it. For instance, bar mitzvah, a chasana, a bris, and anything that you want to talk about that's a big simcha in the family is a big hotzoyah. And then, of course, if you have houses, these things and stuff like that, it's also big hotzoyahs. Thank you. Now, I don't make enough in 1 year to be able to have a chasana above my normal income. I can't afford it. What am I supposed to do? So basically, you're supposed to do ishtadlus. So quit your job, you're a Rebbe, quit your job, become a stockbroker, and you'll make enough money to think that next year, after you made the money, you made the chassan, and now go back to being a Rebbe. The only trouble is my job is taken. Somebody else took over for me, and then he's not giving it up. So what am I supposed to do now? Go make a new yeshiva. Okay, good. Yeah, I've got a lot of answers that people will give me when they're not me. Those are very nice things. But I'm not going to have. So the Benishim says you can put it away. I don't count that in the cheshbon of this year, but I will count it in the cheshbon of when you're going to spend it. And therefore you put away when you started, whatever it is, and you got that extra $30,000 for the chasana, and what do you call it? There was no nisim, nothing of it. You don't have to change your job, whatever it is there. So they created a method of how you keep the money for later. That's all. That's the whole thing that we're doing it, and doing it b'derech hateva, without having to do nisim, special nisim. Today I need this much money. It's all going to appear, all this money. Because that's the reason that there's work for too. It's an interesting thing. In other words, one of the reasons why do we work Taki? I'm not going to give you the year. There's other things in the Gemara and Kiddushin. The simple one is there has to be a difference between Teve and Nes. There's certain things I do with Teve and certain things in Nes. So we know that certain things produce a certain amount, and everything that's called Teve. When I need more than that and it can't do that, and all of a sudden it does it, that's called a nes. So there's a different type of nes. And secondly, not everyone has the keiches hanefesh to sit and learn. So since they don't that, so they're basic and parnasa, that's okay. You don't need to have to worry about the Torah angle of it. So therefore, you can always be able to, even though I don't need that much money right now. So why am I yosik? Why am I thing there? No, that since that's a heter to be yosik and panos, and they never gave you a amount how much you can only work as much as you need or something like that. Those are musadik you say this, but that's not halachidik you say this. So therefore, the person can yosik in his panos. That's the thing. But it's not a time a guy wants to go around and take vacations the whole time and not learn. That's not going to get away with it. That'll banish the money. I'm saying, but if he works, he works. That's the real reasons we work. Okay. It's just an Indian of also we're going to get into the Behar-Bechukosai, but there's something that it talks about here that that there's no, that the Yidden are dinim ki avodayim, I should say, right, because I took them out of Mitzrayim and they're my avodim. There can't be an avodim to an avodim. Avodayim. You know, Allah is going to give me avodim to avodim. What's called an avid? One is simply kipshute, selling yourself. Okay, that's an avid. But Bisman Hazeh, we don't have no avodim. Yes, you do. You have what's called an ironclad contract against yourself. In other words, I sign up, I have to stay here. I can't leave without any, what do you call it? I'm not talking about if I leave and I break my contract, so I have to pay you. Okay, that's not an eved. It's going to cost you money. You've made a commitment, you're not living up to the commitment, it's going to cost you money. But a commitment, and I must live up to the commitment, and there's no way out, that's an eved. And it doesn't make a difference for what it is. That's an eved. Now, there's a difference, the guy be panosa. Shiva Paskin, let's say, different types of people said, why? For that reason, because he can't be a committed person to where that he has no choice out. So Paul can break, can split any time on you. You make a contract with him, he can't quit on you, but he can quit on you. But he'll have to pay you. Okay, so that's the question. Does he have the money? Doesn't have the money if he wants to or not. But he's not an eved. He has a way out. When he has no way out, that's an eved. So it's an interesting halacha that if a guy has a schora, he's a boss. A boss is not an eved. So if you're hired as a boss, then you can't quit so easily. You're hired as a poil, as a worker, then you can quit. So let's say he paskin legabe the yeshiva business. In other words, that a teacher that doesn't teach Gemara is considered a poil. And since they're mainly a worker, he's you can quit any time on you. Now, Avad, if he quits on you, it puts you in a very bad position because you thought you had your staff complete and whatever it is there, and all of a sudden he puts at the last minute, he's like, he can quit anytime he wants. So now what am I supposed to do? You're right. There's definitely a commitment on his part is that Moitzis V'Secha Tishma, that if you committed yourself, you should live up to it. But he doesn't want to. Okay, he's still nothing there. He says, so in a way, I can make sure that I'll never hire you again. That's for sure. Because a guy like you, I don't trust. I need the job done. I need my menuchas hanefesh. You're not giving it to me because you're going to quit on me any minute. So therefore, I have to make balance. I have to make protections for myself. That's the thing. So that he's permitted to do. And whether you're allowed to ladas and stuff like that, it's a notion under discussion. It's not negate us here. But a guy in the Gemara, he's considered a srora. A boss can't quit. He's not an eved. And therefore, because his whole hanhage is that he's the manager, what he called, he's the boss. And I think the word boss does not mean in the owner. I think the boss means the one that controls. And you become a boss. And so anyone in Gemara has this prestige of being a Rebbe, that's Talmidim and whatever he is there, so he can't quit. Obviously, he doesn't have to take on the job for next year, but he can't quit B'yam Tzayim. He wants to figure out the whole year, whatever the cycle is, and whatever they need him for that he signed up originally for, and what Rebbe's normally needed for, that's what he has to stick out. He can't just quit. Yeah, and yes, the Behar-Bechukosai. In Behar-Bechukosai Telechu, Das mitzvah sei tishmeru v'asisim osam. That's the pasuk. Rashi says in Behar-Bechukosai tzelechu, yochel you would think ze kima mitzvahs. That means kima mitzvahs. Kishuaymer in Behar-Bechukosai tishmeru hare kima mitzvahs ema. It says already kima mitzvahs, right? So what do you need it for? Shem elam batel. I don't understand. What does tishmeru mean? It means to God. What's the pasuk say? It says v'asisim osam in the pasuk. So why didn't they just quote it and say it says v'asisim osam in the pasuk? Yeah. And this chumash that I'm using does not have a v'chulu or someone else. A lot of the chumash, if you're looking at, you probably may see a v'chulu and or a goimel and stuff like that put in, but that's the printer put that in. I don't think Rashi really had that in there at all. But even if you have it in, it's still the pasuk. He should have still brought. It's in the same pasuk. The next word, v'asisim osam, the next word. You'll say, but the tishmeru also means v'asisim osam. Oh yeah. So we'll look in the Schanan, and it's Rei also. It's a Gemara, but just to make sure that this is everyone's sort. Among Kedusha, not everyone's sort. Okay. It says over here right after Sheni, Shmartem v'asisem ki chochmachtem v'nastem l'ne'amim. So Rashi, Shmartem zu Mishneh. That means learning. V'asisem ki mashmoi. So whenever the word Shmartem is in the Torah, it means to learn. So Behar-Bechukosai telecha, this is the way mitzvah say tishbu, and you'll learn my mitzvahs, and you will do them. So when we say ki my mitzvahs, so that's v'asisim, not the mitzvah say tishbu. So I think what it means is tishmu means you become the mitzvah. What do you mean I become the mitzvah? What am I? I'm going to give you a mashal about the Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal. As I say, I'm telling you right now, I used to feel, and when it happened, that it was a bizarre to talk about it. And now I hold it's maybe the biggest inyan to talk about. What happened the few years before he was nifter, he got sick, and that's when this whole thing down when he came into home. But he was pretty close till the end. But when he got sick, he started to sleep a lot. I got a friend of mine, Dr. Jerry Hollander, to check on him. There was the regular doctor seemed not to be doing anything. He was a young doctor at that time. And he came in and he checked him, and he took blood, and came out that the yeshiva had calcium in the blood, or an excess of calcium in the blood. Where it got from, I think, is the end they decided it was because he had a cancer of the bones at the time. Whether he was malnutrition or not, I can't answer you. It had nothing to do, I don't think, with his petira. But anyway, that obviously put calcium into the blood system. Calcium in the blood system tumbles the mind. You can't think straight. It makes you fall asleep, but you're woozy state. Okay. So he was not clear in the mind at that time. He's in the hospital. What do you do for that? You put him in a hospital and you give him intravenous, and the intravenous flushes it out by going to the bathroom. Because of that excess water that comes into the body constantly, you have to go. That pushes out the calcium from the blood. Okay? That's still for you. This was somewhere before Pesach. I don't know how many weeks before Pesach. It was after Purim, so I don't remember how many weeks before Pesach. But he said he's not staying in the hospital for Pesach. That he was very adamant about. And we took him out of the hospital, and he still has to have that intravenous. So that time, Atzola couldn't do it yet. Now I think Atzolas can do intravenous. But at that time they couldn't do it yet, so we had to have an intravenous nurse, and that was a Korean, and happened to be. Okay, Korean nurse, the Korean nurse. And we used to davening in the yeshiva. We used to daven in the house. We daven in the house. So we daven in the house. So we made a little kiddush after the davening. So I was making the kiddush. So I poured a little glass of wine into things for everyone to take. So the nurse came over and took a glass, one of these little glasses, and tried to give it to a shiva. And he closed his mouth, like biting like that, and he shook his head back and forth. And she said, I don't know what happened. He's always a very good patient. He does everything I ask him, this and that. Doesn't make sense. And we were all trying to figure out what's going on. Until my nephew, Rebel, he's not a shiv and Shishlayim, he took a different glazela, brought it over to him, and he drank it. The shiva wouldn't drink stam yenim. In other words, but he's not clear of mind. He wasn't clear of mind, and he knew he's not going to drink it. And we were clear of mind, and we didn't know what's wrong with it, right? So what was wrong? So what's pshat in that? Pshat is that you became the mitzvah. You only stam yenim. It doesn't. You don't have to be a clear mind. Your body recognizes this is not the normal. This isn't normal. Could be a lot of us forgot already that didn't stam yenim, simply because we go to Chassidus and who pours the wine for us to go to Shlit. So unfortunately, we forget the halacha maybe. I saw mevushal. I'm not saying Chassidus any shaylas. I'm just saying that we're not used to the fact of stam yenim. Okay, maybe that's why you have to be in a fuzzy mind, because then you'll know, it's probably mevushal. No monkey business. This is stam yenim.
The wine was mevushal?
Huh?
The wine.
I have no idea. I assume most of the wine according to Rosh Shiva is mevushal. Even the ones that they say are not mevushal, the old is mevushal. Of course, mevushal means yad seledis. There's others that hold mevushal means bubbling, boiling. Trouble if you do it for boiling, if you try it one time, you'll find you'll be missing a lot of wine. I'd say about a third, maybe not quite a third, it's a quarter. You'll be missing from whatever you put into the pan to get it up to that degree. So the shiur is when it starts to be losing a little of the wine. That's the time when it's what he called it, and that's yad seledis. So the question is how much is yad seledis, but the degrees of what they pasteurize it on is usually enough. But by us, they put down the lotion. The big bottles are not mevushal, and the little bottles, the quarts or whatever, the things those are mevushal. But I'm saying I don't know how true that is. I mean, it's machlekes with Rosh Shiva and whoever gives the other shalom, the Hasidic shalom. So that's what I think Behar-Bechukosai means. Okay. Then what's the bracha for it? So you can have the gashmis. Okay. So what's going to be the bracha? V'hisig lo hechem dayish is botzir u'botzir yasher gezorah. So let's take that part first. So it says, Yisiklam Daesh is Botza. It says, Shiyah Daesh Meruba, that you'll have so much Daesh, Vatem Asukim Boy, you'll be working at it, Ad HaBotza, until the Botza. From the Botza, and when he gets the Botza, they ask him, Ad Shas HaZerah. So in other words, I'm working 12 months a year, non-stop. Is that a bracha? I don't know. I mean, any business we go into has a slow period, at least, to recover on. I mean, even years ago when you were an accountant, before April 15th, you worked like a Meshuggah. You didn't sleep. After April 15th, you Baruch Hashem, you're on vacation. Now they evened it out a little, but that time, that's the way it was. You were in the clothing business. You're selling winter clothes, so you work during the summer. And if you're selling summer clothes, you work during the winter, but the rest of the time you're free. You can't work all the time. Even you get at least 2 weeks off. It's something, you know. And here you tell me it's going to be such bracha, you won't be able to rest at all. You're just going to have so much money. So there's no kind of brachas there. Especially we spoke about it before. Remember we said about the Shemitah, that if you last, you'll have to work 3 years worth of work in 1 year. I mean, so it's not a bracha. So I think it means this, that you'll be able to be misada yourself. The trouble with let's say the agriculture business, farming, is if you're doing it through it, so you work hard during the summer. Mamish, morning to night sometimes. But the winter, you have nothing to do. So, in a way, it's good. I have a privilege to rest, but I can't be misada myself. I can't put myself into a position that I do this from this and this from this, because sometimes I got to do it the whole day, and sometimes I have nothing to do. So I'm going to give you stuff that's going to be the whole period of time. It means the whole period of time means you're telling me it's not going to rot, because I'm able to work on it the whole time. Means that it's not going to spoil by the fact that it's in the field. I didn't take it in yet. Why not? I don't know. I would assume that either it doesn't rain or it doesn't get wet that much, or you can cover it. I have no way to why it would not spoil. But the Beishim can make a nest that you can work on something the whole time. When that's the case, I work 2 hours a day. The rest of the time I go learn. But wait, whatever it is there. It's interesting, there's a din of a balabas that he has to learn with the Kohen Mores Akasha. What does he learn? So he has to mishalish terosai. He has to put his tail in a little chumash, a mishnah, and a little gemara, a third and a third and a third. So the Rambam puts it this way: what should a person learn in the 9 hours a day he has to learn? The Talmud Chacham, he learns 12 hours a day. The Balabas learns 9 hours a day. So how much does he work? He works 3 hours a day. That's the idea of what he was supposed to work. Abel, I told you before that if you work, you don't have to stop. You're allowed to work in. Whether you should or not, that's Musa, but Lamaisa, you don't do it, but you're not even Yisurim by working. So therefore, but the Yatzim Yisur, the Rambam's idea of what's called work, is 3 hours a day. And so that's what he means here also. You work 3 hours a day, and the rest of the time you work on you come to learn. And that way I can make the Seder. So that's the bracha. The bracha is I'm a Suda. I don't have any rush jobs and slow periods and everything else where I start worrying, I don't stop worrying, or whatever it is there. Or finally, I'm so tired I can't catch my breath, so I need the vacation. That's the first part of bracha. Then I'll give you enough food. I'll have peace. Okay. Then it goes, continue with all these brachas, and it goes by Shlishi, V'achaltem Yoshan Noishan. You'll eat 2-year-old old food. In other words, is Yoshan, that's 1 year old, and your Noishon is 2 years old. That is the top quality grain you can have. I guess the flour from it or whatever it is there. You have Yoshan Noishon. Okay, so that's a nice bracha. Okay, the Yoshan mipnei chodesh tetziu, and you'll take the Yoshan out so you can put the chodesh in. That's where Rashi touches up. What are we playing games here? What am I going to do with the Yoshan that I took out? I got to find another place to put it. So why don't I just put the chodesh in the other place, and I'll save myself a job? Why are you doing this thing, right? So I think this is what it means. No economy can support itself. We're in America, right? We have the American dream, or so they say. I hope we don't, but there's an American dream. A house, a maid, whatever you can imagine of it. but let's say a cleaning lady. What we have to go into that American dream? Every balabas that, no matter how poor they are, needs a cleaning lady every so often. Well, I feel a little curly younger man needs a cleaning lady. Because the wife is always working, so you need a cleaning lady to clean up the house. The cleaning lady also wants to have a cleaning lady. Right? And if we would do that, she would have to charge who knows how much money per hour. Right? If she charges that hour in order for her to afford a cleaning lady, which of course her cleaning lady will also need a cleaning lady, what's going to happen? We're going to have to charge triple that in order to be able to pay her. Right? So the economy is going to go crazy. I know it's one of the reasons we're so makel on the, all these guys at tzaddikim that hold, illegal aliens and all that thing. The illegal aliens, they're cleaning ladies. They're also your maids. They're what do you call? That's why we need them. And all the people that have workers and stuff like that need them because that's the farmers need them and whatever you call. These are the cheap workers. They come in here for just food. They have no food where they can live in. So they come in here to get a little bit that we can give them. And therefore, we tolerate them. It's not the pshat is we want all our benefits gone to them. We need them sometimes. It's not so pushit when we say, illegal aliens, depends how many you put in here, though. That's a big difference. Okay. So, yeah. Right, so the economy can't support itself. We see this in the Gemara also. By David HaMelech in Parshas, I think it's not hey. The Chachamim come to, or rather his advisors, come to David HaMelech, and he said, Am chanich tzrichem parnasa. So he answers them, okay, they should do business one to the other. What's the problem? And then the thing there. So they answer him that it can't support itself. The ein abor menala mechulye. It's a hole. You can't fill it up with the earth that you've took out. So it can't fill itself up, and everybody can't have everything. So what do? So it comes out they do gedud. Now we're going to invade. We're going to go invade all the different places, and then we'll have that's our economy. We do it in Bezman Hazeh. We'll import. We'll import all our needs. Okay. Or but how we can get the money to pay for it? We'll export what they need. So if we have more exports than imports, then when everybody can live. And Rome would go out and rob the world, and everybody who was a citizen just sat home and then got his chelik, and then there was enough money to live on, and to whatever they wanted to have with it. Okay. So the only way you're going to make for everyone in the country to be supported is only if they have an income from outside the country. The country itself cannot support itself. No country in the world. So he says, that's what I think happens to the Yoshan. You're going to take out the Yoshan and export it. And that's going to bring you all the money. What's Yoshan? Yoshan is the better quality than the Chodesh. So therefore the whole world's going to be interested in Yoshan. So you're going to send them out the Yoshan stuff. You don't need it because you still need the Naishan. You're eating the third year already from the food. So there'll be enough left over for you to become 3 years old. But the rest of the stuff we'll send out, and that will give us that economy boost. Yeah. Okay. Here, the Teichach doesn't divide itself into different inyonim. It's just, I'll talk about the other Teichach a little, because the other Teichach is clear about certain things. again, on the Indian of one of the things it says, "V'chaltem b'sabaneichem b'neisabaneisechem techelu." In this one, what is the klola? You're going to eat the flesh of your children. Does that mean we kill our children? I don't think so. I think it only means the kids die of hunger, and then we eat them up. In other words, we become cannibals, but we're not murderers. And another thing that we should understand ourselves and why this is Sai here and Sai. That saying this Teichach and saying Teichach Kisavai, it tells us that the fear of Goyim, and there's a fear of Goyim that we have, is only in Chutz La'aretz, not in Eretz Yisrael. And for that reason, I think that the Israelis cannot understand what happened by the Nazis. We're talking about this, not talking about now. Now I don't think anybody really can understand it because we're not threatened with it. But they couldn't understand it because, hey, there's 1,000 goyim coming at you, big deal. You know, we haven't got fear. The fear of goyim is here. The pasuk is here. Just turn the page. Yeah. And I'll bring fear into their lives. The pasuk is in Chavav Lamed Vav. In the Eretz Oyeveim, the Radaf Oisem and whatever it is, and right, the same thing goes over there. In Kisavai, the fear is only in Chutz La'aretz. And this fear is an illogical fear, because even if you're a wife, you're afraid of them. Now we can all say we have good reasons to, whatever it is, they're not afraid of hurting me, and I'm afraid of hurting them. Okay, good, those are all svaros. But the mice is you're afraid. Yeah. There's this lotion. Ve'fitzcha Hashem lekech b'chol amim, right? V'agoyim aheinu is hagia, v'lo yisiyem v'noyach, v'nosna Hashem b'chol shav v'ragos, v'chinyan inayim, v'dav v'nefesh, v'yiftuim v'negal. Anyway, and I think it's more explicit somewhere else. But I think that's clear enough anyway. Yeah. Over there, the Teichach is brought down and broken down to 3 parts. One is not learning the mitzvahs to do, not learning all the mitzvahs how to do. That's what we call normal life. Go there, so yeah. Yeah, lishmar, lasa, we said lishmar means to learn, lasa is to do, is called mitzvah. So you're going to have you're going to have different diseases that are going to hit you. You're going to lose wars. You're going to have hunger. Now, it's normal tzoros that exists in the world. That's what we're going to have. But it's like this mashma that if we do the mitzvahs, we shouldn't have all these normal tzoros. We should be completely healthy and the land is good and not hungry. All of this comes only because we have these different levels. So that's the first level. Then there's a second level. That you didn't serve a Kodesh Baruch Hu tachas el shaloi vadet Hashem lakecha b'simcha b'tuv levav. L'reiv kol. It's the second level. And then all of a sudden you have golus and many things there. And then there's the third level. That The shiur is, it says that you don't even fear a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So if we do it on that page, Tishma Lasa is called, like Tishma Lasa is called the Vatera Azois Haksumas of Liyiros Hashem. Not even afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then you get to the what Hitler, Machshma, the other souls they come. That's the things that are not written in the book. They couldn't even write them. We can't even describe them, what they can possibly do. What kind of souls we can get. That comes from, if we don't have Yos Hashem. So these are the three madregas that you have. And one is the one about learning. We said Tishmu means to learn, so we have to mean, and it uses the Lashon over there, mitzvahsov. So mashma, we have to learn in a way to learn all his mitzvahs, even though we're not learning all his mitzvahs. What I mean to say is this. Again, I got to go back to Kisavi for a second. When we get to Kisavi, you're going to get it again anyway. So, what's the Parshas? Kisavi. Right after Shlishi. As Hashem Hemata Yem Leishluchol Kim, you chose God to be your God. What are you committing yourself for? What does it mean? Lechas b'drachav, to go in His ways. Lishmor chukav mitzvahs mishpatav, and to learn. And l'shmor b'kelim. Hashem Hemircha Hayem Liyis Leilam, God chose you to be His nation. Liyis Kam Skul Kav Shedivelach, but Lishmor Kol Mitzvahsav, and you should learn all His mitzvahs. Right? And therefore, the Sitcha Elyon, I'll call Goyim, and I'll put you on top of everybody. Why? Because you're on top of the Goyim, you're supposed to teach them. I mean, that's the whole point of it. We'll see. Okay. It has a word kol different than what we committed ourselves to. We didn't commit ourselves to kol mitzvahsov. We committed ourselves to do mitzvahsov. What's that mean? Kol mitzvahsov, mitzvahsov. There's a different, and you'll see in the brachas, there's also different brachas. Sitcha Elyon is only if you do kol mitzvahsov. If you do mitzvahsov, then you won't be on the bottom, but you won't be on top necessarily either, but you won't be on the bottom. I think the Gemara Makis, I think, it explains that good. It doesn't talk about this pasuk, but I think it explains that. It says David HaMelech saw that learning the Kol HaTorah Kula 630 mitzvahs he couldn't do. It was hard to do. So he made 11 klagim. Came Yeshaya, made 6. What do you call it? Oh, who took it? Oh boy. One of the Tereosa made it into 2. Habakkuk made it into 1. What do you mean you don't have to learn the Shulchan Aruch anymore? And of course you have to learn the Shulchan Aruch. But the brand, the thing, we didn't go and study every part of the mitzvah that we shaykh to study. What does that mean? You didn't study. So I want to, I held Nachemish Gamzu touches up this case very well. What's the Meis Nachemish Gamzu? The Gemara says that, his Talmidim didn't know why he didn't have hands and feet, and he's blind, but they saw he was a tzaddik gomer, so they asked him finally, and he says, the only one in the house doesn't cave in. So they saw he was a tzaddik gomer. So that's the case. So why are you like this? He should be walking around and running around. So he said one time he was coming from the Shver, and he had all these donkeys full of food and everything. And a man came over and asked him for food. So of course he asked for food. I'll get you food. And I'm sure he jumped down fast and got it. By the time he came back, the guy died. And he said, I'm not having your understanding for what I saw him running, I didn't run fast, whatever. I'm sure he ran as fast as he could. He's talking about a Tana, and he's talking about he sees a guy asking for some food, he's talking about jump down. But it's 2 types of hunger. There's hunger, I feel I'm hungry. When we're eating in a half hour, okay. But the half hour was fine. Then it's the guy that's hungry that's going to die in 2 minutes. It's a different kind of hunger. But I'm a guy, Baruch Hashem, I always had food and stuff like this. I don't even have an idea that there's such a hunger in the world. So I didn't study hunger. If I would have studied hunger, I would have known to have food by my hand all the time. If the guy needs something, I'm going to have it right there. Okay. That's what he means between studying all the mitzvahs and not. I'll give it to you in the way the Rambam brings down, but he brings down both psukim. I hold there's a big difference between the two of them. By chesed, how do you do kol rochov? So the Gemara gives two times different lashonos. One it says that the Ben Shalom was Malbish Harumim. He was Mvakeh Chaylet. He was Menachem Ovel, and he buried Mason. And those things, you got to be do those things very good, right? Wonderful. And then there's another posuk, Mahu Rachum Afato Rachum. We all understand if you see a naked person walking down the street and we're a Rachum, well, we're going to make sure he has clothes. That's a reaction. It's not a proaction. We saw a guy needs something, we go to help him. Did we go out to make sure that everybody has clothes in the first place? That we didn't do, because we're not proactive about it. But if I would do the 4 mitzvahs like that, and know there's Malbish Harumim, we'll make things like that. In a way, make gemachs, these things it is. And Saskin, I think, did a very good job on Avelim, even though I think there's still things to do. But anyway, we did a very good job in it. And I'm sure it wasn't one guy that did it. They had a committee. And I'm sure how did anybody come to Gosh, what does a novel need? So the guy came, when I was sitting Shiva, I had to find it the hardest part when I was sitting on a box and I couldn't get up from the chair. Now the guy said, okay, we'll get you a chair, folding chair, remember, with the legs cut off. And the other ones, so like usually young Israel used to have them. But I can't push myself up from the floor. Got a little older since that thing, you can't do that. And now they're trying to get the Adirondack chairs, which they didn't get yet. They're still this way. Because they have the shape is the right one, but they don't have it going like this. Now, if Kamina, your feet should go down. Your feet have to go out. They get very tired and very, what do you call it, besides people tripping on them. But it's very tiring, very, what do you call it. But if you have your feet under you, that's a wonderful thing. So they haven't got that yet. But the guy said that thing, and the guy said, I didn't have a Sefer Torah. I didn't have enough Sidurim. I didn't have enough Chumash, whatever it is that they had. In my air condition, they didn't have, people came, it was hot. People came in the winter, they came with their coats, there was no place to hang them. So they bring a rack. All these things are because people missed it. I don't think they sat down and said, what possibly could there be? I don't think so. I think the person felt what was needed by him. And therefore you put together, and that's the thing. And that's, if we would study, that's what we would be studying. What do people need? How do we need it? Let's ask them, let's find out. That's it. So then we can be proactive. But otherwise, you can only be reactive. It's a reaction, and that's all. I see something, I see it needs it. When you do a reaction, people still die. If you do a proaction, people can maybe live. So this Benishim says, I can't make you Elyon, because, why can't I make you Elyon? Because if I make you Elyon, they'll think that's enough. And the Torah doesn't want that. It wants you, so if they saw nobody died, okay, then maybe we got to do the Torah. We got to do what they call it. But they see people die anyway, so manaf gemine. So it's not a perfect thing. So, okay, so I live a little longer, a little shorter. It doesn't make a difference to me. That's the difference, that if I don't make you sit chelyon if you don't have it. That's basically the union of the Teichicha. Then the Rashiva, yeah. Once gave a member to a curdled dinner. and they gave this speech. The mafter Behar-Bechukosai. V'chol meiser boker v'chol sheyavet tachas hashovet hasiri kosh Hashem, right? Okay. Lo yivakir ben tev l'ra. You can't make sure which one's going to walk out. V'lo yimerenu, you can't exchange them. And if you do exchange them, you have to bring. So you ask the kasha, it's a kal v'chemer. If I can't even make which one should go out first, so of course I can't exchange it. Right? So what's the chiddush? What do you have to tell me the other one for? If you wanted to kind of, it's a big chiddush, but it's a big obligation. There's no retirement. You can't decide who's going to be the guy. That you can't figure that out, and you can't decide it. And sometimes parents have that cheshbon. I don't know how it was by Rabbi Elazar's family, that it took him till he was 22 or 26 to finally go to learn. He had to run away from home. Did they ever send anybody to learn? But by the Galachim, I think, by the Catholics, then the fourth son becomes the Galach. Every family that has four sons, the fourth son becomes the Galach. Like by Yidden, the first one was the doctor, the second one was the lawyer, the third one was the accountant, so the fourth one was the Galach. Okay. Sometimes the father sees little kids, when the kids are growing up, and he decides, I need in the business some kids are what maskim they should learn. So I see this kid, the studious kid, what he called, or a chapfest, or whatever it is there. I'll say, he'll go to yeshiva. And it turns out the one who we thought was going to be the businessman becomes the Talmud Chacham. The one he thinks will be the Talmud Chacham didn't make it. And things like that. We find that's all the time. Rabbi Yechim Zaki, I think that's the biggest. I mean, that we find that who would be the leader of the Dor should be probably Yonis Ben Uziel. I mean, he's the biggest. And it turned out to be the cotton, Yechim Zakai. So, obviously, we can't decide who's going to be the man. Maybe someone's going to make it, they can give him the Siyata Dishmaya, whoever it is. So, I can't pick that. I also can't exchange. I got into the job, it's my job. I can't exchange it. I can't say I'm putter now. I'm too old now, I need someone else. What I could do is get someone to help me. Now, I can't do the whole job anymore. I get tired. At this day, I need someone to inside, but I can't retire. That retirement is not on our league. In our words, and this goes in anything for the Oskid Tzedakah, the Oskid in Chesed, and all that. Those, first of all, their expertise is necessary, and whatever it is there, the person know what to do. A lot of people, the person don't know what to do and how to do things. I don't know how they do it, and the same thing goes in Torah. How you went through what you went through. So, and I think in Pirkei Avos, that's the pshat of 90 is l'suach. So it's gone to shadows what l'suach means. I said maybe it goes from the word of sicha, of talking. That when you get to be 90, you got to talk. We're like this. You never talked about the Alter Haim. You never talked about the concentration camp. You never talked about how it was when you were young or anything like that. When you get to be old and you're not, you start all of a sudden, maybe it's a reason why people, they get a little bit dementia. Not that something, if you ever notice, it's, what do you call it, it's short time memory that you lose. Long time memory you still remember. Why is that? In other words, because you want to be able to bring out what you went through. And sometimes you live through it again. If you talk, all of a sudden you think where you came from, and the people who was listening to you can actually hear the fear and or the simcha or whatever it is that they're trying to bring out, and you've learned something from that. Like this, you just telling its words. Like read a book, it's words. It don't mean anything. So you have to hear. You have to know the door before, the door after. It's not something. Baruch Hashem, they created things for you. Sorry, how was it and what in their time? How did they do it? What did they make to come to do it? And that's the things that have to come. Of course, by having that, I think we would get an understanding what our job is, because and see how maybe to do it, be a little bit different than ours. And we've seen this in the economy too. The guys who were born in the Depression time were very we call it frugal, miserly, cheap, and whatever lesson you want to use on them. Right? The guys born in the baby boom era threw money around like nothing. Then all of a sudden, the guy before, I remember years ago, there used to be a joke, a guy from Europe, there's the suit, you see the suit? 10 years, and it's still strong, still good, right? Another guy, anything there? This suit, I changed it, just bought it yesterday, probably next week I'll throw it out. It's very, what do you call it? You can reach a time like that. So after 2008, all of a sudden you got again people were frugal, or if you want to call it. Or if I got a bargain, I go for a bargain. Like I said, what are you going for a bargain for? What do you need a bargain for? You got plenty of money. What do you need a bargain for? I got a bargain. What's the bargain? Because Taka, you saw that you don't have. So then you can. So a lot of people have to understand there are times it changes. You can't just waste money. You can't just throw it around. I'm not telling you have to be cheap. Live what you need to learn to live. But don't spend it because I got it. Because I got it, that's why I can spend it. That's not a reason to spend it. But if I'm able to spend it, that's fine. That thing can do anything. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, everybody, and a gesunden Shabbos. Be well. Now,